Hello and welcome to CSE 391. My name is Hunter Schaefer, and I'm going to be your instructor this quarter. In this first video for our first day of class, I want to start by introducing what this course is and some key syllabus details. And I also want to talk a little bit about how learning is going to work this quarter because we're going to be running this class mostly remotely. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is too, and I talk about our class structure. In the other videos for today, we're going to introduce our first course content. So looking at what a Unix or a Linux operating system is and understanding how to use this bash shell. So those are kind of our bash shell. That's kind of our goals for today. In this first video, I'm just going to start with syllabus details and an overview of what the class is. So like most CSE classes, our course has a course website, cs.washington.edu/391. This is going to be your one place to check for almost everything about the quarter. For example, it will have all of our lecture materials, including these videos that you're watching right now, and all of the files or commands that I use during these videos, all will be posted on this calendar. Also, all of our homework assignments and all the specifications and the details for how to turn them in will be there. Also, information about how to join Zoom calls or how to join office hours will all be here as well. One of the things we're going to talk about in this video is some of the important things in the syllabus. So the syllabus is also on the course website, and you're still going to want to check out the actual syllabus on the course website because I'm only going to touch on the most important bits. There's still lots of really good details in there for you to look over. So you're going to find that syllabus and everything else we're going to need on this course website. You probably want to bookmark this course website because we're going to be using it all the time this quarter. So let's start with, what is CSE 391? Well, our job in this class is to try to teach you a collection of tools and topics that aren't really addressed in other classes that we think really any CSE major should know. So things about how to use a terminal or write different commands or use version control systems like Git. These are really important software tools that you use in your day-to-day life if you're a software developer in industry or even in academia. I use these tools every single day to run my classrooms, and it makes me a more effective teacher running classes at scale because I can let the computer do a lot of the work for me. So we're going to practice a lot of these really important skills that you could use to make your job faster. One thing to note about this class is it is a credit, no credit class. The only thing you are assessed on are our weekly homework assignments. So every week we're going to have a homework assignment that you can work on. I'll talk a little bit more about how those are graded, but do note that even though this is a credit, no credit class, a common misconception is that means that it doesn't come with any work. That's not true. We have these weekly assignments and it is going to take work. I'll talk a little bit about this more later, but the reason we have you do work in this class is because you really do learning by doing things. And so these homework assignments are actually going to make you do and use the content we introduce each week so you actually gain mastery over it. Because just to be clear, at the end of the day, no one cares about the class CSE 391 because that's just something we're going to be together 10 weeks. What we care about is lifelong learning and that you're going to be able to use this after you leave the class. And so all the things we're going to bring into this classroom are here to help you cement and practice these ideas for a long term. I'll mention that you can see on the website, there is a recommended textbook. It's optional. It's not required. We're never going to do any assigned readings out of it. But this textbook is actually very useful. It's a very handy reference. One of the things you're going to find is that a lot of the commands we talk about, there's a lot of them. They all have different parameters and all these different things. And having this reference book is actually really, really useful to get a quick glimpse at what some of the things that we're using are. So let me talk a little bit, I previewed this a second ago. Let me talk a little bit about how assessment's going to work and what these homeworks are going to look like. So every week you have the option to work on one of our homework assignments. So there are going to be 10 assignments in total for the 10 weeks of the quarter, going all the way into finals week. Each assignment is going to be worth 2 points. So each assignment will be released after class and is due at 1 p.m. before the next class. So we're going to be releasing an assignment after this first Tuesday, and it's due next Tuesday at 1 p.m. before class. Note about the 1 p.m. deadline. That's an important deadline because we want to be able to talk about the previous homework in class that day. So in next week's class, I want to be able to talk about the last homework assignment. And so we make this deadline as late as possible before the next class. I'll mention I've gotten feedback before from students that they found that the 1 p.m. deadline was a little hard to remember. So for you, if you're a student like that, that's okay. I have trouble with deadlines sometimes too. If you forget the middle of the day deadlines, it's due 11:59 p.m. the night before. And if you forget it a little bit, you have a few extra hours. Okay. So we can't accept anything after Tuesday at 1 p.m. If you need to put in your schedule earlier than that, that's fine by me. You just can't turn it in after 1 p.m. on Tuesday. The assignments are worth 2 points. We do provide partial credit, so you can earn 1 point for a reasonable attempt at most of the questions and 2 points for attempting all of the questions, and almost all of them are correct. Now, a lot of times people will ask, well, what's the difference between 1 point or 0 points or 2 points? We have an auto grader this course that tells you every single time you turn in an assignment exactly how many points you earned. You can submit an assignment as many times as you want before the deadline, and every time it will tell you, have you earned a point yet or have you earned 2 points? So you'll know as you're turning the assignment in whether you got all of the points corrected. So for all of the assignments in this class, they're going to be graded by an auto grader, and you're going to receive your score every time you make a submission. And I just mentioned that we're not going to accept any late submissions. And I'll talk about collaboration in a second. Now, note, even though we don't accept late submissions, it's okay if you miss some work. So out of those 10 homework assignments, each worth 2 points, that's 20 points possible. If you want to earn credit for this class, you need to pass 14 of those points. Okay, so you need 14 points or more if you want to earn credit for this class. So if you miss one assignment, that's okay. There are still lots of other assignments that you can use to get your 14 points. It can come from any combination of the assignments. Okay? There is also 1 extra point of credit out right now, that homework 0 survey. If you complete that survey before the Friday deadline, then you'll earn 1 point towards your 14 points. I want to note, I personally, and as an instructor that's been teaching this course for a while, highly recommend that you put emphasis on the early assignments. A very common thing that sometimes happens is sometimes people save their 14-point requirements till the end of the quarter, and that can be quite difficult. 1, because the end of the quarter tends to be busier with a lot of your other classes, and 2 is all of this material kind of builds off itself. And so if you aren't really well practiced at the beginning material, it's going to be really hard to master the later material. So I really recommend putting a little bit of emphasis on these first couple assignments to really set you up for success for the rest of the quarter. Even though you don't need to do every single assignment, those first couple are going to be really important for you. Now, I wanted to mention, I kind of skipped over this bullet point I have in bold. Because this class is a class about exploring these important topics, we really want to encourage you to collaborate with each other. That if you get stuck on something, that you can come to the staff, me or Evan, to talk about these problems, or you can talk to your peers as well. The important guideline there, though, is that anything you turn in should be your own work. So you shouldn't be looking at someone else's answer and then copying that down, or having them just tell you exactly what command to type. Is kind of taking the learning opportunity away from you. However, you're more than welcome to talk about process and think about ideas and kind of strategies for solving these problems, and think about oh, do you remember that there's this one thing we talked about in lecture? This could be a useful example to look at. All of this stuff is really productive collaboration. It starts to blur the line though, where you start copying answers either directly or indirectly from someone else. So all of the work that you should submit should be your own. We do verify this. We run a program over solutions to make sure that there are no incidences of copying. So please make sure you're doing your own work, but you are encouraged to talk with each other. Okay? So that's assessment in this class. Again, you need 14 points or more to earn credit for the class. Okay. So what is one way for you to reach out if you need help on a particular assignment? Also, I noticed my camera is just a little bit over one part of this text. So let me fix that. There we go. There we go. I put it right back. There we go. So where can you reach out to if you need help in the class? So the best place is to use the Ed discussion board. If this is outside of our office hours, this is the best way for you to get a class from either the course staff or other students. It's one central place where anyone can ask or answer questions. So Ed is going to be our great place to go for most help in this class. Now, you're also encouraged to participate in those discussions. It's not just about students asking questions and teachers answering them. Everyone has the ability to answer. So you're encouraged to pitch in and help other students by contributing to the discussion, even if you aren't 100% certain that your answer to someone's question is correct. It still helps to have all these ideas coming in. Don't worry, Ed has a great interface for me to star student answers to be like, this is exactly right. And if there's something that we need to modify a little bit, I'll just follow up and say, yeah, this is almost correct. There's just one tiny thing we have to add on. So please don't be afraid of being wrong. You can always post anonymously if you want, but you're definitely encouraged to help other students there. If you have personal questions that you don't want other students in the class to see, either about personal circumstances or if your question involves part of your solution to an assignment, you can always post privately on Ed. That way that only Evan or I can actually see your post and respond. Otherwise, questions should be really going to Ed and not on email. You receive a much faster response rather than emailing me. You can also post anonymously on Ed if you prefer not to have your name shown. If it's a really serious personal circumstance, you just want to talk to me and you don't want to talk to Evan, you can email me then. But outside of those things, almost all conversations with the course staff should be going on Ed discussion. And if you email us about, say, a homework bug or something that you want help on over email, we'll kindly reply and say, hey, this is a great question for Ed. Please post there, and then we'll respond. Okay? So please, the default is to use Ed first. So I mentioned the course staff a few times. So who are the course staff? So I already talked about me. My name's Hunter Schaefer. I have office hours on Mondays from 12 to 2. That is wrong. My office hours are from 2 to 4. I'll fix that on the slides that I post. My office hours are from 2 to 4 on Mondays, either in my office or on Zoom. And then we also have a TA who'll be joining us this quarter, Evan Howe. Evan has office hours on Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. only on Zoom, or Thursday from 2:30 to 4:30 in the 4th floor Allen School breakout or Zoom. So one thing I should maybe mention explicitly that you see here is that even though we're going to be running the course online, which I'll talk to a little bit more, office hours will have as a hybrid fashion. So you can either join us on Zoom or in person. The one exception is Evan's Monday office hours are Zoom only because they're later in the evening. And the course website has details for how you join the office hours. So Evan and I are super excited to be working with you this quarter, especially as we're kind of figuring out kind of what we're doing here in this online quarter in 391. Okay, so I mentioned this briefly earlier, is that we're going to be doing this class online this quarter, regardless of whether the university is in person right now. I should qualify at the time of recording this video. The university has announced that the first week of winter quarter is online and the rest of the weeks are in person. This is subject to change, but as I'm recording this on January 2nd, that is the current state of the world. Regardless of what the university is doing, the CSE 391 is going to run purely online, only on Zoom, and with the exception of hybrid office hours, but you still have an online option to go to office hours. The reason we're doing this is because I'm a strong believer, as much as possible, at least trying to provide hybrid options, especially with everything going on in the world right now. And I find that it's really hard to provide a stellar online option and in-person option at the exact same time. And we've kind of done some calculations based off previous quarters that we'd find that if we provided hybrid, most students would be attending online anyways. And so we're choosing to just do fully online for this course because it meets on a day that most students might not be on campus, because we really want to make sure we're providing the best experience possible in this course. So all classroom instruction will happen online. Now, we're going to be doing this slightly differently than you might have seen in other courses. So our lecture time on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 2:30 is not going to be a lecture. Instead, we're going to have all of the lecture content on pre-recorded videos, the one that you're watching right now. And they're going to be hosted on either YouTube or this website called Item Pool. Item Pool is just like a wrapper around YouTube. For any of the Item Pool videos, you don't need an account, even though it might prompt you to make an account. It's completely anonymous. We aren't using it to track anything. The reason we use Item Pool is it's actually a great service that lets me embed questions in these YouTube videos. And so when I ask, I can have little check your understanding questions. So you can test if you're kind of following along with what the video is introducing. This is another avenue for you to practice by doing in the class. Okay? So the Item Pool videos will briefly pause every once in a while and ask you to answer a question. We aren't recording your answers for those questions for points or anything. The only points in the class are homework. So I want to mention that this item pool tool is very useful. All of the required course content will be in these videos posted on the calendar before the lecture. Now, there's some of these recordings that we'll be using are going to be from previous offerings of either my class or my colleague Josh Irvin. We've kind of made these videos back and forth a few times. We've kind of settled on a steady state, so we're not constantly remaking these videos. And so some some weeks, you might see a video from Josh's quarter, and Josh's videos are excellent. But I just wanted to highlight, if Josh ever talks about like an administrative detail, like the assignment is due on X Thursday or whatever, we would ignore any of those because this is a different quarter. But all the course content, that totally checks out. If there's any of those clarifications where I have to tell you that, hey, Josh said X, but that's not what we're doing this quarter, I'll make sure that's very clear in an email, or I'm just going to re-record that video anyways. Okay. So all that lecture content will live in these series of videos. So what are we going to do for that 1:30 to 2:20 class session that's going to be hosted on Zoom? Well, we'll use this as a Q&A session. So I'll start with a little bit of recap from the videos, and then most of the time will be spent on either answering your questions about the course content from that week, or going over the homework from the previous assignment or from the previous week, or I prepared a set of practice questions that we can work on together that will act as a really good bridge between the lecture content and what you're actually going to be asked to do to apply it on the next homework. The students have reported these discussion questions are some of the most helpful that they looked at in the course to helping them prepare for those homework assignments. And we kind of need these lecture videos to prepare you for those discussion questions, which then really prepare you for the homework. All of this stuff will be posted online for those that can't attend the live class session on Zoom. The recordings will be posted, and all the discussion questions and their solutions will also be posted. Okay. Note that the recordings of the class sessions are not strictly required for you to watch. The only required material are those videos, but you still will probably find those recordings helpful. So all the lessons will be on item pool linked on the course calendar, and some of the videos will be on YouTube. To access the lectures, the live class sessions, or office hours, there's a Zoom tab on Canvas. And I mentioned that the class sessions will be recorded. Okay, so this video is getting a little bit long. I want to wrap up soon. So I want to quickly show you what these item pool videos are going to look like. So every once in a while, once we introduce a new concept, we'll sometimes have one of these slides that are labeled item pool. They'll ask you a question about something you just learned and help you test whether you understood what was going on there. So the question here is, how many points are necessary to earn credit in this course? Enter a number into the box below. So at this point, the video will pause, ask you to answer the question. And then normally after this point, once you unpause the video, we'd go on and explain the answer or go on to new content. But this is actually going to be the end of our video for this video. So we'll see you in the next video where Josh is going to be introducing some of the new course concepts.